Why do autistic people seem to be bothered by smells and noises all the time? Why do autistic people seem different from neurotypicals? Today, you're gonna learn what's going on inside an autist coming up. About sensitivity to noise, lights, and smells, it is said that about 9 out of 10 people who have autism have sensory issues. Although it's very common for an autist to have sensory issues like sensitivity to brightness and noises, there is only one research paper who talks about sensory issues in autism. The research paper is written by Temple Grandin, who is a autistic researcher and a designer of slaughterhouses in the United States. I'm sure if you follow my channel long enough, you recognize her name. There are many research papers covering about theory of mind in autism, which is capacity to understand other people by ascribing mental states to them, but almost none when it comes to sensory issues among autistic people. By the way, a lot of autistic people struggle with socializing, and it is said to be due to impaired theory of mind, which makes us generally hard to emphasize with other people. Going back to sensory issues. Now, an autistic brain produces a lot of adrenaline every time there's a change, which might explain why we autists are very sensitive to noises and smells. But since most researchers are neurotypicals, it is hard for them to imagine what an autistic life is like, a life where everything is a stressor. Now, contrary to the idea that autistic people are sensitive to external stimulants, there are some autistic kids that don't react to those external stimulants much. For example, some kids are scared of water, but some are attracted to it. Some autists can stand noise, some can't. Now, I've experienced myself. Some autists are very sensitive to pain, so every time there's a needle going into the vein, they lose their mind, while I actually enjoy watching the needle suck my blood. Weirdly enough, one of my hobbies is blood donation, so not every autist react to the situation the same way. Temple Grandin proposed that there are 3 types of sensory issues. One is to seek for stimulation all the time. So everyone, regardless of whether you have autism or not, we usually seek for stimulants. So what would this cake taste like? What is the texture of this shirt like? However, some autistic people seek for stimulants more than neurotypical. For example, they would constantly flap their hands, rock back and forth, and make sounds. I suppose I fall into this category, this type, since I like watching my blood suck from my veins. The second one is a sensitive type. So some autists cannot stand certain smells. For example, the smell of pasta sauce or the noises that a coffee maker make. Me personally, I really hate the sound of blackboard. Maybe everyone does, but I extremely hate it. Like I almost throw up when I hear someone scratching the blackboard. Third is the insensitive type. Some autists don't react to stimulant or don't seem to be bothered by it at all. Some don't react to pain or don't react to the situation where their names are called. They don't respond. This seems like the opposite of what I've talked about so far, which is the sensitivity of external stimulants. But let me share an interesting theory. An autistic girl named Carly from a book called Carly's Voice Breaking Through Autism, she said she would lose track of what the person in front of her was saying because of a woman's perfume or the noise that coffee maker makes. So based on her story, Temple Grandin proposed a theory that autists who seem to be insensitive are not insensitive, but rather their brains fried by too much information. Since there is too much information inside an autist's head, it makes it difficult for them to express the relationship between them and the world. I've experienced myself, so when I'm giving blood and seeing the needle going into my vein to suck my blood, I don't feel much pain. However, when I'm alone at home and I accidentally stop myself with a pin or something, I feel much more pain compared to the blood donation. I think this is because there are things that I see more at a center. I see other donors, I see nurses, I see machines to suck my blood, I see television, and etc. I believe my brain has too much information to even feel pain. Also, when I'm at the mall, I can't concentrate on conversation with friends. Just like Carly said in her book. There's just too much information and I cannot catch up with them. It's like I'm multitasking all the time. Even when I'm meeting with a friend at a quieter restaurant, I cannot eat and talk at the same time. I can only focus on either eating or talking. If you ever eat out with me, I might be very quiet just because I can only do one thing at a time. It doesn't mean I don't want to talk to you. It's just I need to concentrate on eating or talking. There are 2 research papers to describe this theory. First one introduces the idea that autists have the intense world syndrome. This describes how autists' nerves overwork and the information from the world will be too intense for them to handle. The brain's reaction to this syndrome is that it locks up the owner, the autist, to a safe, stable, routine actions. So they tend to like same actions the same way. So it is commonly seen among autists to do routine, maybe like flapping their hands or spinning on a chair or something, and doing something like listening to music, the same music all the time, which I do sometimes. The second one suggests that autistic people shut themselves off because the changes around them seem to be too fast for them. This research paper was on neuroscience and biobehavioral reviews in 2009. Both of the papers suggest that autistic people seem unresponsive or insensitive because there is too much information inside their brains. The author of Intense World Syndrome suggests that while ordinary medications are meant to increase functioning of nerves and cognition, autists need their nerves and cognition to be less active. If the nerves and cognition were less responsive, autists don't have too much stuff in their brains, which might help autists to be able to have a more normal interaction, such as understanding and listening to what the other person is saying in a lively restaurant. Also, a lot of autists are not good at reading facial expressions, including myself. But a study conducted in 90s found that autistic kids could understand other people's facial expressions as much as neurotypicals could, if shown slowly. The study showed a slow footage of people's facial expressions, and autistic kids could understand them accurately. This is because changes are too fast for them, so if we slow them down, autistic people can understand and function as well as neurotypicals can. So I understand more deeply when someone explains to me in slowly tone or pace. I always wondered why so many people can just understand instructions from a quick explanation. I could never do that. So although it is common to assume that autistic people shut themselves down because they cannot emphasize with others, it is more like there is too much information for them to handle, which can wear them out quickly. So for example, when I go out with my friends, I need some alone time. This is not because I hate people. This is because I get overwhelmed by external stimulants like noises, faces, brightness and stuff. I get tired very easily, and I don't think I would last 30 minutes without recharging time, which is kind of alone time. From this experience, I think two papers that suggest autistic people have too much information brain, therefore they seem to be insensitive, are accurate and right. Now, as you might know, I'm a minimalist. I intentionally have less things because things are information, and if there is too much information, I get tired very quickly, and I also interferes with my productivity. However, even if you're not autistic, things are still information, and it might distract you from being productive or doing something that you like. So I suggest you become a minimalist, say goodbye to things that are not necessary for you, because one of the best choices I've ever made in life is to become a minimalist. Thanks to all my patrons. If you know what Patreon is a platform where subscribers get exclusive content from the creator. My Patreon is all about forming connections with other vegans and becoming mentally stronger together in this non-vegan world. So if you're interested, the link is in the description below. You can check it out. And thank you so much for watching until the end, and I'll see you in the next one. Until next time.